maybe the NFL should be the one that gives Baker Mayfield a little more cash in the aftermath of last night's win. Somebody needs to give him a little more cash. And here's the reality. Not that Mayfield is clamoring for it or we've had any Sunday splash reports from the usual suspects that Mayfield believes he's underpaid or they're trying to get. But the sooner you do it, the cheaper it's going to be. Because 55 becomes 60, becomes 65, becomes 70. Don't wait. Do it now. They paid him 33 at a time when it was creeping toward 50. Now it would be smart to pay him 40 at a time when it's going to start to move towards 70. So I'm always reluctant to say this, and Chris and I have argued about this multiple times, Devin, because Chris will say, well, I don't think he's greedy. And it's not about greed. It's about getting paid. You get a limited number of years in your life when you get paid. And it's hard enough for guys to try to get what they're owed without people like us casually implying that you're greedy when it's not about greed. It's about, are they going to effectively use your competitiveness against you? That we see that all the time. If a guy loves to be somewhere, they use it against him. If a guy wants to stay in a certain city, they use it against him. If a guy's really competitive, they use it against you to get you to take less. And from the Buccaneers' perspective, oh well, sucks for us. We got a guy who may take less because he's so competitive, he wants to leave money around for his teammates, and he's not just saying it. But that's the reality. So, again, I want to be careful here because he doesn't seem greedy. But that's okay if he is. And it's not greed. It's get every dollar you can while you can because you only have so many chances to get it. And Baker Mayfield was in the financial wilderness after the early years of his career. And you said one more thing. You said that this is why young quarterbacks shouldn't play early. I agree with most of the words you said. I'll say this is why young quarterbacks shouldn't play for the Jets or the Browns. I think that's the more accurate explanation because the Jets have been ruining quarterbacks for a long time now, and the Browns are ruining quarterbacks. And they had Baker Mayfield, and they got drunk on the idea of getting Deshaun Watson, and it was the dagger for their relationship with Baker Mayfield, and here we are.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that argument at all. And I do think it's interesting because your competitiveness on the field, to me, when you talk about contracts, it's hard to turn that off. There's a part of when you're negotiating a contract and you're doing it's just a part of this is where I'm at. Like, I'm not trying to be greedy. This is what the market tells me I'm at. Why should I then tell myself I shouldn't get to that point? Why should I tell myself, hey, I'm doing this because it's what's best for the team when you don't control the next decision the team makes? And I always think that's the interesting thing around all of this because from the outside world looking in, I get it. When you see guys making 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars, you are going to sit there and say, if they're going to pay you $45 million, why do you need to be at 60? I understand that wholeheartedly, but when you go and you're going to watch other guys be at $60 million and you're going to sit there and turn on the film and say, I'm better than him. Like I'm better than him. And one way we see how guys are better than other guys in the game of football is when your contract's up, what they're willing to pay you. So there is a side of that. I know I've been there when I felt like I was better than certain guys that were at my position around the league. And it was important for me because that was a reflection of that. That was how we kind of saw and ranked ourselves in our position groups. I think as much as anything, everybody watches the top 100 or they watch all these different things. You're competitive and wanting to make the Pro Bowl, wanting to make All Pro, wanting to be where you rank on, how much you make a year. Like all of that stuff is embodied in the guys that you watch out there on Sunday. They're competitive. They want to be in those conversations. They want to be highest paid or top 3 at their position because they feel like that's where they are. Now, will a guy feel like, hey, I'm number 1, but I want to be on this team, so I'm cool at being number 3 or number 4. Yeah, and there's a ton of respect to guys that do that, but that's not going to be way off that number. It's just going to be maybe a couple $100,000 there or here that they feel like, hey, I'm still in that conversation. And I think it's hard for guys to just turn that off to be on a team. And I do. I have a lot of respect for those guys that compete to be at the top of every conversation around them and their position in the NFL.
Well, but Devin, and I don't know how comfortable you are going down this rabbit hole, and I'm not trying to press you here, but, I mean, you dealt with the Patriots for your contracts, and you dealt with them at a time, and it really wasn't prime. Tom Brady doesn't take market value contracts, so who do you think you are if Tom Brady isn't taking market value? Why do you think you should get market value when Tommy doesn't? I don't know. You may have heard that. I don't know. But how do you deal with the Patriots when they're winning Super Bowls? And I suspect they're trying to leverage every guy they can to take less under this idea that we need to keep Super Bowl teams together.
Yeah, and I think Brady was always the number one thing that, like, you would hear from the outside. Like, whenever you were about to be up and every article would be written about what you wanted to make, and some true, some false, I would get comments all the time, or you would see people and be like, why don't you guys be more like Brady? And the whole thought around every player in New England, I
can imagine the response. Sorry to interrupt you, but the response to that would be, why don't you go insert however many expletives you want after that?
Well, the funny thing would be, because we're not Brady. You're not Brady. You're not going to make a ton of money off of, like, you don't have that part of your game to be like, you know what, I'm going to play football for the next 15 years still when I was a young guy. Like, you didn't have that. So for every player in New England, being honest about the situation, it was about leverage. Like, if you created leverage, then you knew, okay, I now have leverage, and it's going to be up to me at what number I'm cool with being back in New England. And that's how it went for me. And I know every time I signed back, I had better offers to go play on other teams. And except for my last year when I was old and I had 1 year left. But the other 2 times previous, I could have went to other teams and made more money per year, more money overall, more money guaranteed. But I think that's the competitive nature on the field that now comes into play. It was, hey, what's the number for both sides that we feel like we can make this work? Because if you want to be there, you want to compete for championships, you're going to have to give some and sacrifice something. You're not always going to say, hey, I want to be the highest paid. And when you look, a lot of times the guys that left New England, they left and they became the highest paid. That was something they wanted to be. They wanted to be number one. For me, I wanted to be in the conversation. I felt like I was in the conversation at my position, and I wanted to be in that conversation, and that was good enough for me. But each guy's different and where they feel like they stand.
We're going to get back to the game here in a second, but I like it when these conversations organically come up because they're very relevant to the construction of teams and keeping a guy like Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay and continuing to keep together a team that has now gone 2-0 for 5 straight years. That's a franchise record, and they continue to win the division. The only year they didn't win the division since 2020 is the year that they were wild cards and won the Super Bowl. They've won the division title 4 straight years. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 with Brady, 2 with Mayfield. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.